This is the Milo Beasley Show. This is the Milo Beasley Show. There's only one thing you need to know. This is the Milo Beasley Show. And now, here's your host, Milo Beasley.
And welcome to the Milo Beasley Show. I'm super excited for those of you who know me personally. You know I'm a huge baseball fan, and baseball is right around the corner. So I am thrilled to be able to have our next guest. You may know her from A League of Their Own, and you know her work from a bunch of things that you didn't know. So please help me welcome at this time, Patti Pelton. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's great to be here. I hope my dog.
I'm thrilled to have you on. As again, I found you via, looking up, get possible guests for A League of Their Own, and then once I dove into your website and your IMDb, I was like, this is amazing, and I definitely want to chat with you this evening. So thank you so much for joining me.
You bet.
So, again, A League of Their Own. I'm a huge baseball fan. Was a huge fan of the movie. How did you find out about the audition process? And first off, were you into baseball prior to auditioning?
Yeah, I played baseball since I was 4. Yeah, my brothers, I always wore their Detroit Tiger uniform around. It was always too big for me. And I didn't even know what a softball was until I got in 8th grade. And they're like, oh, you want to be on the softball team? And I'm like, oh, I've been playing baseball, but I'll adapt. I'll do that. And so, yeah, I was really lucky that my brothers let me play with them. And my mom took me to the theater all the time. So there you have it. So that's, I became an actress who actually could play baseball. Right. So, and my mom used to take me to the ball games all the time. She raised us. My father was killed when we were young, so my mom raised us. And my mom always was a big sports fan and took me to the ball game all the time. Let me play baseball. Let me do, play all the sports I wanted to in the neighborhood, and it paid off. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So then, how did you find out? Were you an actor? I mean, you did theater and stuff, but how did you find out about this audition?
Well, I was living in Chicago at the time, and I happened to know Ann Cusack, who also was in it. We were, we knew each other from theater and from Chicago, right. and then I was trying to remember this the other day because somebody's writing a book on A League of Their Own. They were interviewing all of us, and we all have the different stories. But there was first David Anspaugh was directing it, and so I auditioned for it with David Anspaugh, who did Hoosiers. And that would have been a completely different film, obviously. And I auditioned for that, and a bunch of the girls were going to the audition. They said, you should jump in the car with us. I didn't have an agent. I said, how am I going to get into the audition? They said, we're going. You should be in this film. Just jump in the car with us. So that's what I did. And I auditioned for Rod Dato. I showed up, and they gave me a T-shirt. They were like, who's your agent? And I said, oh, he should have called you. I don't know why you haven't heard from him. So they gave me a number, which ended up being my number in the movie, which I didn't request. They handed me number 56, which was the T-shirt. I was number 56 of the players that day, which was really weird.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things that was meant to be. But I once I'd heard about it too, I started going to the batting cages and started, getting ready for it, doing research. And then that whole thing fell through. He dropped the movie, and I had to start all over again.
Oh,
and
no.
And they said they weren't going to see, but it turned out okay. They said they weren't going to see all the same people from before, and they told Megan Cavanaugh that too. But we both ended up in the movie. I just kept pursuing it and showing up, and finally I ended up on the field. And Penny was like, "So nice to meet you in person. Go play." And it's a really long story, but they sent out a team to watch me play and everything. Right. 4 of us. So that's how I got into it the second time, but I had to pursue it for 2 years in order to get in it.
Wow. That's incredible. Now, was the audition more baseball than acting?
For me, it was because they thought I was only a baseball player. I was living in Chicago. Penny didn't know I was an actress. She thought I was a baseball player. And I was like, no, I can do both, so yeah, it was very interesting. And then when the first time I auditioned, they had me read for every role. And the same thing when Penny was doing it, I got a second chance, and then I had to read all over again for every role. And I didn't get cast in one of those roles. So Penny basically said, I just want to create a role for you. And they put me in the movie. And then she let me name myself, give my character a name. And that's how I ended up in the movie,
That's
so.
fantastic. And your name, Marbleen Wilkerson?
It's Marble Ann. It's
Marble Ann.
Marble Ann. It was actually Rosie was the only one that caught this because she's so versed in television, history and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. There's a movie, I'm dating myself, but my brothers and sisters used to watch The Trouble with Angels with Haley Mills. It's an old movie, and they always tortured their cousin Marble Ann. And she's like, "What's your character's name?" I said, "Marble Ann." And she gave me the last name. So that's where the name came from. And Rosie caught it right away. She goes, "Come on, that's hilarious." And I go, "I know." I think it's funny. So
it's great.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of names from the movie that you just don't hear those names anymore. Like it's all Jennifer and but yeah, there's some great names, and that's great that you got to name yourself. And then so I've always wondered, with like a baseball movie, are you just out there all day just doing different actions and then hoping that they work in the movie, or are you having to do specific actions to, for the sake of what is going on in the movie at that time?
Well, first, what happened was when I got there, the team was already together, and they had some of the, just to start with the rehearsals, they had some of the baseball, like, Rod Dato came out, his team who coached the, you probably know the Olympic team. And we had some of the Cubs come out and train us. And so I came, and they were already kind of a team, but we started, they were doing pepper drills, and we would be out in the outfield, and they'd be hitting them to us in the outfield. And we had to learn to slide with our feet up because we've got those metal cleats on. And one of the girls actually auditioning broke her ankle because she, the cleat caught.
Right.
Dirt. So it was a lot of that, and learning. We had a technical, Para Davis was our technical advisor. She was one of the original women. And we had to learn also, how to yell dirt in a skirt or whatever they yelled, not like, oh, that's, something modern,
Right.
You're improvising. So we practiced all day long, every day, in the heat. It'd be 100 degrees out there. We'd be practicing in the heat. And then when they went to shoot the movie, of course, it was scripted,
Right.
But like that scene at the very end of the movie when Lori hits the ball out, that was Biddy Schramm and myself. I go out, I'm her cutoff person. We spent the entire day. They had a slingshot, and they would just shoot that to the back wall. And it literally was an all day long thing. Us just all day long, just throwing it and running out, throwing it and running it, and then catching, shooting Lori, hitting the bases and that whole thing. But wow. Yeah, sometimes they would just set up the camera for a quick shot, and you would do like, they pitched you and pitched you, you'd hit each of us, just like, shooting it.
That's crazy. And so which of the actors was the best baseball player?
I get asked this a lot, and I'm always, first thing I say is me. But there were various skill levels. I mean, Taya was very good. Rosie, I hate to say who's, some people were played softball more and then had the skill level,
right,
and could play, and then some played a little bit better. And if you look at any of the interviews, a lot of people say, Rosie or Taya or Ann Ramsey could play. Everybody could play pretty well,
right.
But yeah, I definitely count myself in there.
I would too. What was it like? Now you said, Penny Marshall, took to you and created a spot for you. Mm-hmm. But what was it like watching her work, behind the camera?
Right. The whole thing was so, still to this day, it's a pretty surreal situation because it was my first professional job. So I was pretty stunned through most of it. I was just like, I remember Ann Ramsey turning to me and Gina was doing something. She goes, "It's Gina Davis."
Right.
And we were both like, "Yep." It was just a constant, like, and then we became a team, and we kind of meshed. But and then watching Penny work with her team of people that she's known over the years, that's same thing. And you're just in awe of the whole situation. I was very young too, so we were all kind of it was all very big for all of us, and so it was, every day was just kind of 6 months of magic.
I couldn't imagine, and being out there again with Tom Hanks as
Oh, I
well,
know.
and
Come on.
watching him just
Doesn't get better than
Jimmy
that.
Dugan is one of the best characters in all of movie history for me. So,
And they were all everybody on that show was so funny. It was just, and we were together, you can imagine we were stuck in a bus together not stuck, but we were in a bus together for like hours just together. And we would go, we would shoot 12, 13 hours a day and go into extra time. And we shot so much footage that they had to build an extra room to put all the footage in it, because Penny did also so much. She let us improvise scenes, and not to mention the amazing writing of
right.
of A League of Their Own. The Babalu and those guys. They were amazing. So
That's great. And you've got to do events with some of the original girl baseball players as well, right?
see them. We'd see them all the time. We would go to. We're very. We still all see each other. We still do events together. We're kind of like cousins, all of us. Like, we're a family. And then we've been seeing the women for years. Like, at their reunions, we try to support them. If they ask us to do something, we try to go, and become friends with a lot of them. And through the years, some of them have passed away, which is very sad. And we're still friends with a lot of them. So I talk to them on a regular basis, actually.
That's great. Yeah. That's fantastic. And then, so after that, you've transitioned, your career has definitely transitioned. Were you still interested in acting at that point? And when did you kind of start working behind the scenes as well?
Well, I started getting interested. I started thinking, what else could I do besides what I do, which was acting. And I did a foray into stunts, because I was doing my own baseball stunts. And so I thought, well, maybe I should investigate that. And I happened to know some of the guys that have done Atomic Blonde, and I'm trying to think what else David and Chad have done. Matrix. Those guys were in the Matrix. They were, Chad was Keanu Reeves' stunt double, and I knew those guys. And so I started to kick with them and kick with the stunt guys and learn fight choreography, and started doing some stunt stuff because I just loved it. And I loved the choreography, and I really loved it. And I think that if I'd started younger, I would have probably transitioned and done both the acting and the stunts, which is what I eventually did, do both. But and then I got a call from CSI New York. I produced some of my own things, and they wanted me to come on board as a product placement person, which I had no idea how to do. I had no idea what that. I had to figure out the job. It was terrifying, actually, for a year trying to figure that out. But I thought it was great to just get some producing credits as well, and learn how to do that, and learn all the ins and outs of production, and continue acting. But I did take a break from acting for a little bit, and then I produced on a web series that we won a daytime Emmy for. So
So where do you keep a daytime Emmy? Where do you have a trophy?
Well, no, I don't have the trophy. I actually have. There was only a few trophies that you have. That's it back there, but it's the plaque, the daytime Emmy plaque. They give it out a few trophies, and then the rest are all plaques that say daytime Emmy and are given to you. So yeah, I keep it behind me.
So everyone that comes in, they can see it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be, when you can write Emmy Award winner,
right,
in your name, that's when you that's
it was
the best feeling.
It was very grateful to have it. I didn't expect it, to be honest. We were doing it because we were working on the project and interested in it, and then we happened to win. It's one of the first daytime Emmys for a web series. It's the first time. So yeah. They don't normally give daytime Emmys to web series, so it was the first year that they second year I think that they'd done that. So
That's fantastic. I want to talk about, you mentioned the stunt work.
mhm.
You did fight choreography. You did sword work as well. How
Yep.
did you? So I've also done fight choreography, and I had to learn sword work
Yes.
on the job. So how did you,
Well,
come
how
to
was that experience
that
for
skill?
you? You with wrestling, or is it what did you do as far as your
Yeah,
skill?
so, I was in, a movie. I was in a movie, but, uh, I did more behind the scenes doing, I was a stunt and a fight choreographer as well.
Okay, so
So I put together the fight scenes and stuff, but there were also sword fights in that, and then which we had a fantastic sword fight coordinator, so
mhm.
I didn't have to worry about putting those together.
Yeah.
However, I did have to worry about participating.
Yes.
So that was a very fast learning curve. It was, you
Yeah.
have to learn this
Yeah.
right now. What was your experience like with swords?
Well, I trained a lot. I started out just goofing around really because I knew some of the stunt guys and some of the guys from I can't think of the name of the show. And I'm trying to think of the name of the show now, but I knew a bunch of the guys, and so we started using broadswords and rapiers and just goofing around. And then I started studying and training, and I fell in love with it. I just because it's so quick, And what I'm watching now, is that they've really advanced in the sword fighting as well. And when you watch some of these shows, it's really even quicker now, and it's really close combat.
Right.
When you're doing it. So, but I loved it, and I just I found that also the fight choreography I really loved because to me it was all of it is like a dance. I mean, I don't know if you feel that same way, but that's how it feels to me. My mom was a dancer, and so to me, it's just you have to be quick, and then you have to also not injure the other person. You have to
Right.
avoid getting injured as well. So I've taken a couple kicks to the head from from guys, And I was old. I was at this point in my life where I was also not in my 20s anymore fighting all these guys. And I after a while, and I'm still friends with a lot of the stunt people, but I did eventually just say, okay, maybe it's time to kind of move on from this. Much
Right.
as much as I still love it, though.
Do you have you thought about putting some of doing your own fight scene for stage shows and coordinating them, but not necessarily participating because again, I
I
know
don't
how.
think that I would have enough experience to really coordinate something.
Okay.
I mean, I might. I don't know. I've never done it. I'm a very I've done a lot of sports and I do a lot of adventure stuff still. And my actually left baseball behind and softball behind when I got into the martial arts. I started focusing on kickboxing and boxing, and I loved it, and I still do. And you know what? To be honest, if somebody threw me in something right now, I would be totally up for getting ready for it and doing some fight stuff. So I still really love kickboxing and everything.
That's great. Now you say you left baseball behind and stuff, but are you still into it? Do you still watch baseball? Do you still keep up with it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I'm very getting pretty heavily involved with the girls. We're always very involved with women's baseball, and there's a big push for it right now. And so I'm actually writing something. I'll come back with you when I'm finished with it. And
Absolutely.
every day I've been working on something, and I've talked to some people about it, and they're very excited. And hopefully I can get it done soon. But um, we're all very involved in women's baseball, and little girls spend a lot of time coming up to us and at everything that we're at. But to be honest, they really are really love the older women when they see the older women, which I love the fact that they
That's great.
gravitate and they know who they are, and they're like, you're our heroes. And there are a lot of groups that are doing women's baseball, lots. And so we're the only country that doesn't have a professional league yet. I mean, Japan, all these other countries do. And so we're very heavily try to promote women's baseball. And they're building a women's baseball museum in Rockford, Illinois, that some of
Rock,
the older women are attached to, that they'd
right.
love to see that done before they're gone. So
Absolutely. I would be 100% behind that. Okay. So you talked about growing up in Detroit, but living in Chicago. So who's your team?
Detroit Tigers,
Okay.
but I also have a real love for the Cubs because I lived in Wrigleyville. When I got a league of their own, I was living in Wrigleyville, and I used to walk to work when we would shoot up at the stadium.
Right. Yeah. And then you got to play in Wrigley Field. I mean, gosh.
We got to throw out a first pitch there. We got to throw out a first pitch at the Angels game. We got to throw out at the Dodgers. We played in White Sox Stadium, not the new one, the old one. They shut it down for us, and we had the run of the entire stadium, and we ate hot dogs and played baseball all day long in the stadium. So you're a baseball lover. Who's your team?
I am a Tampa Bay Rays fan because I was born and raised in Tampa.
Yeah.
So
we did this year too.
Right. So, right. Yeah. You participated in the Ted Williams thing, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then the Braves were my first love because, well, Florida didn't have a team. So it was the southernmost team. So I was always a Braves fan. So I'm a Braves fan and a Rays fan. And my wife is a staunch Cubs fan. So you have support there. But Patty, let me tell you. So I live about 30 miles from Lakeland. And that's where the Detroit Tigers have their spring training.
Oh, really?
All right. So you have to come down sometime in March. And we'll go to a Tigers spring training game.
Oh my gosh, let's do it. I would love that.
Yeah, we'll make plans next year. We'll hit up some Tigers spring training.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. That sounds great. And I not too long ago I trained. I got an invite from an Australian women's baseball team, and they were all like in their 20s, and they said, "Can you go with us? And we'll pay for you to train at the White Sox facility." So my batting got so much better, and I played with these girls, but these girls were amazing. I mean, the women's baseball has advanced so much. Right. And I tell you, I could barely walk at the end of this thing when I was playing with them and training with them. And it was pretty awesome. But that was like the last time I really, played hardcore. But I would love to do that with you. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Let's we'll make plans, off the air, but again, I'm super excited to see what you were putting together, this project you're working on.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And I want to talk, you've talked about, product placement and that type of stuff, but I have to talk about Let's Make a Deal. So everybody knows Let's Make a Deal.
Yeah.
So you were the prize content producer. So does that sound? It sounds like
fancy,
you were getting all the things that people are winning. That's what.
No, I didn't. That was a weird job that that came up. That my career seems to be constantly like. I mean, even when I got CSI New York, I had no idea what I was doing, and even the interview was like, "You know what you're doing?" I said, "No," and they go, "Well, let's just give you a shot," And I said, "Okay," and so I feel like that's happened to me a lot, and that was a job that came up, and it was to write the copy. It was a copywriter, and for all the shows, and they did 3 shows a day. Right. And I'd never done any copywriting before, and it was something I said, well, I've never done this before, so I'll try it. And it was really intense. I got to tell you, it's a very hard job, and I've never worked on a game show, and it's a completely different world. And they have 3 shows a day, and the audiences come in 3 times a day, and they're running that show, and the talent's running it. And, you're trying to write the copy and update it, because if they win one of the prizes, they have to come up with a different prize. So you're constantly writing the copyright for it and trying to, and I thought it's a skill I've never done that before. I'm up for anything. So I did that for a little bit, and it was really interesting. I was also, a prize content producer on the show as well. So, it was very interesting.
Just fake it till you make it, right?
Fake it till you make it, it was really fast paced. They would call you from the booth and just go, "You've got to rewrite this right now. We're on commercial break." And I'd just be like, "What?" And I would rewrite whatever it is they needed and send it back to the booth, And again, there was no training for this. They didn't have time to train me. It was just kind of crazy. It's just,
insane. I mean, talk about on the job training
yeah, absolutely. So
as you're doing it.
yeah,
So,
I feel like I'm doing a lot of that. So
and then being a product placement,
mm.
coordinator for a lot of these television shows and movies, I mean, that's got to be something, being able to be on all these sets, but being able to, a lot of the shots depend on what you're putting together, right?
Well, it's a very interesting because mine is when I did CSI New York, there were only three of us kind of on shows pretty much. I mean, usually it's a prop master job or a set decorator, coordinator's job,
Right.
and uh, so it's not like people are always like, oh, do you put like water in the? And I go, like New Amsterdam. I don't know if you've seen that, but I did all the medical equipment on that show, the surgical lights, the tables. That was all. I resource stuff.
Right.
They tell me the look they're looking for. I try to explain the equipment to them and get the technicians and get the stuff. And I have to get it in time, shipped there, and try to educate them on the medical equipment. And then I have to make sure that we get it all back to the company. If the show goes for years, they keep it. But it goes back and then, and then you have to clear it legally. And you also have to deal with standards and practices sometimes,
Right.
and marketing department and clients, and then the production company and the studio. So,
Right. Yeah.
so
So,
yeah.
and then you have to deal, I guess, with contracts and how, if they are paying you to get their product in,
Right.
or you're paying, to be able to use their product.
Mhm.
That's gotta,
Or it's
that's,
free. Most of the time.
or it's free.
For me,
Right.
most of the time it's saving their budget so they don't have to. And it can be anything. I've done everything from robots for Extent, which was a Spielberg show. I had to do get robots and figure out, and I'd never done that before. So they were like, "Can you do it?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm gonna
Make it
try,
till you make it.
try my best." So he ended up approving all of them. I had to go through his approval to make sure he was
Oh
okay
my
with it.
gosh.
So they ended up only building one of the robots, but that also was on top of that. I was also doing everything else. I was doing the entire show. So
Right.
Inventing Anna, you've seen that. That's another show of mine that I did right before we actually had to shut down during COVID. So every time you go into something, it's a new experience, and you're always thinking outside the box on how you can accommodate everybody and keep everybody happy and still get the job done. So.
I couldn't imagine. That sounds intense. It sounds like it's just literally like nonstop.
Yeah, it can be. It can be pretty intense sometimes because I've had to do, emergency rooms over New Year's Eve and Christmas when nobody was even there, and I was doing it and then figuring out how to get it shipped when they weren't even there to receive it. So that was fun, but a challenge. I'm always having a nervous breakdown. I'm like, I hope I can get this done, but it always works out,
It works out. Yep.
always. Yeah.
Now,
Like,
Patty, I found some amazing photos on your website. Now, can you give us some backstory? So, what I came to understand in doing my research, those are your father's original photos. Is that correct?
oh, thank you for noticing those. Yeah. Yeah. My father was a photographer here in the
There's some
40s.
amazing photos.
That's only like a small, there's hundreds of them. And my mom and dad were out here in the 40s. And when they went back to Flint, Michigan, he was killed. And so they've been sitting in my mom's basement for years and years. And I found them down there. We knew they existed, but my mom was very, she just didn't know what to do with them. And so I said, well, how about we get them published? How about we get them out there? We, get some of the photos. So yeah, they've been in film and television. People have used them on shows, and
That's great.
yeah, and I'm getting ready to do another big push of his stuff and put it out there because and I've learned a lot about him through his photography. And my mom is in some of the photos. She was his muse for some of them, and she would want me to say this very clearly: none of the nudes, not in any of the nudes. So, you know. Again, and he was at the Pacific School, the art school that's out here, big art school, the arts. What is it called? The art school design, or the and that at the time, he that's the only school he wanted to go to. And now they turn out some of the Steichen was there, and Ansel Adams, and he studied under all those people. So
That's incredible. And I think you're doing a very cool thing in keeping his legacy going with these photos. It's it's a way to keep, like you said, they've been in television shows and stuff. So it's to keep his art alive. It's fantastic.
yeah, he's literally. I was sitting. I was a director of development for Paramount Studios. And I was sitting in a screening room with a friend of mine who does clearances, and she's freaking out. And The Rock, it's Baywatch, and one of my dad's photos is literally right behind his head. And she's like, "We have to find out who that artist is. We got to find out if that's cleared." I go, "That's my dad's work. We're okay. We're good." But I couldn't believe it, though. It was sitting right there, and I had no idea that they'd rented it for the film, and it's in The Rock's apartment. So that was really exciting. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Oh, gosh, that's gotta hit a little bit different than anything else you're working on.
Absolutely. It's been a real journey, discovering those. And like I said, there's hundreds of them that I'm always trying to, because they're on the big 4x5 negatives back in the day when they do that. So you can literally hold them up and see what the color and what the photo looks like before you print it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, anybody who's watching, I highly recommend you go to Patti's website and check that out. They're really, really cool photos.
Thank you. Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk about is your work with teaching improv and stage, work to at-risk children. How did you
Well, you really researched.
I do a lot of work, Patti. I do a lot of work.
Yes, so it's fantastic. Yeah.
But stuff like that really reaches me. So how did you get started doing that?
Honestly, quite a while ago, Ann Cusack, who was also in A League of Their Own, her parents were very generous people and always involved in community work. And she started an organization. She pulled a lot of the actors from Actors Gang, and a lot of actors, and pulled us together and asked us if we could be teachers for her organization. That's kind of how I got started. And so we each had groups, and I had young girls who were runaways who I did. And I have to tell you, the thing that was so frustrating about that was that I saw some brilliant kids come through that were super talented and have no idea how much they had to offer. And then sometimes they would just disappear again, but you'd have them there for a little bit and see their magic. And then, so that was very difficult, but we got to work with a lot of kids and do a lot of improv. And then I did some communication work where I was teaching young adults improv in order to get them for their English skills, to help work on their English skills. And they completely forget that they actually know more than they know because they're doing improv, and they forget about it because they're so concerned about the improv. And they were doing advanced stuff in front of me. It was really pretty amazing. So that's my favorite thing, is working with young people. I think that really keeps me young and inspires me. And it's really amazing to watch them and how artistic they are, some of them. And
right. You see their light bulb turn on.
Yes. And a lot of them, we had at-risk children, and they weren't at risk. They were just bored, and they wanted, they
Right.
wanted to do stuff, and they were just very creative kids is what they were,
Right.
more than being labeled at risk, I would say. So it's very interesting what the arts can do and what sports can do for kids. Yeah.
For sure. 100%. Now, you've been on stage, you've been behind and in front of a camera, you've done improv, you've done, producing work. Do you have a favorite of all of those that if you could, you would prefer?
I guess the acting. Yeah, I mean, that's really my passion. And I love the stunts too. I really did. I love doing that. I actually, my biggest passion right now is just is travel. That's where I really love doing that. So, and the riskier the better. But yeah, that we really got, COVID really.
Right. I was going to say, what have you been able to travel at all over the past 2 years, or has that been put on a,
Yeah, pretty, I pretty much. I mean, I mean, because we're all trying to be careful and everything. I mean, I did some trips cross country, but I was always safe and staying in somebody's mobile trailer that they had, so I could actually visit them and travel to places. I got to know the states a little bit better, just doing road trips like that. But
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people found that was interesting. But I'm anxious to get back. I had a trip. We were going to do a 10-day hike to Nepal. Where you actually hike and you stay in hutches and stuff like that, and you hike for 10 days, but that got canceled. I have a group that we do adventure trips together. We do whitewater rafting and stuff like that, and I went to Syria we backpacked, and so I really like to just get in with other cultures and learn about other cultures and meet people. And I mean, that really makes me, I mean, it's just so amazing to meet other people from other countries and see their point of view,
I like the concept of whitewater rafting, but
it was awful.
That's what I'm afraid of.
I'm angry when I'm in these situations. I was like a 5-class rapids in Peru, and I was not happy.
That's what I have like. I like the idea of it, but I have a feeling at the end of the day, it's going to be a bad day.
It makes for a great story, but it was pretty awful. Yeah.
What I want to do now is something that I do that I call the Milo Beasley Show frequently asked questions. And I'm going to ask you the same 5 questions that I ask to all my guests here on the show. There's no wrong answers. It's just the first thing that pops into your head. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Question number 1. What was your first concert you attended?
Okay, this is going to date me. You want me to answer this? I'm coming up on a birthday here. Don't laugh.
I'm not going to laugh.
Loverboy.
Who was it?
So I shouldn't even answer this. I'm going to do it. Loverboy.
Right.
Loverboy.
Loverboy. That's a great concert.
Oh yeah, it was good times.
That's fantastic concert. How was it? Was it just them, or did they have openers?
I think I remember it was just them. Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of good concerts we went to. We lived near a lot of great concert places in Detroit. But yeah, Loverboy.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I would dig a Loverboy concert. All right, question number 2. Do you believe in ghosts?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you've had some things happen?
Had some things happen, yeah. I've had some experiences, yes.
I don't see.
I've had some weird experiences.
I'm on the fence on. I don't know. I've never had anything like. But I think I don't know.
I've had some experiences, and and I've had friends who have had their places cleansed because of some stuff. But and the neighbors heard it too. It was an old apartment building I lived in, and the neighbors heard it too, and everybody was convinced there was something going on based on the history of so it wasn't just us noticing it, But yeah, I do believe that there's energy. I don't know if if you're going to see, you're going to see something. I've never actually seen anything. It's just more of just what I believe, that there's an energy there. And yeah. You're not sure? You're on the fence?
I'm not sure. I feel like that there, again, like you said, there's an energy in places that I go, I've been to, again, like we felt,
right?
Do what?
You felt things in places you've been.
Yeah, there's just like a weird aura, a weird energy, and you're like, oh, somebody's watching me right now.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah.
Listen, when my brother's a geophysicist, and he had an experience. And listen, this is somebody who's a lot of science, very scientific, and he said, yeah, I've had an experience like that once. That was really weird. And so if my brother is saying that, I got to kind of go with that. So
All right.
he's Mr. Science. So, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right. Question number 3. And this is a little twist on a commonly asked question, but in a
Uh-oh.
movie about your life, who would play your parents?
Oh my gosh. Really interesting. I've never thought of that. I have to think about that one. That's a tough one. They were a pretty cute couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty modern for their day. He was a photographer and she was a dancer. She's a ballerina. So I'd have to think about that. That's an interesting question. Who do you think would play your parents?
Who do I think would play my parents? You know, as many times as I asked this question, I don't know if I've thought about it for myself. So
I would like Jessica Chastain to play my mom, I think. I'd have to think about who my dad. He kind of had James Dean looks, so I'd have to think about that. Yeah.
all right, we'll swing back around to it.
Yeah, I would think about that now.
Question number 4. Who is your favorite person to follow on social media?
I don't really follow a lot of people on social media, do I? Or I do. My niece.
Okay.
My little
Great
niece.
answer.
My little niece Finley. I like to follow her. She's pretty hilarious.
That's a great answer. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Jimmy Fallon, The Rock," and you're like, "My niece."
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my favorite. That's my favorite answer that anybody's given.
Yeah, she's pretty funny. She's cute.
And then I'm really interested to hear your response to this. So, you've met so many people, got to work, on camera, behind camera with so many people. But did you ever have that big fangirl moment where you were like, "Oh my gosh, it's so and so, and I have to meet them," or "Oh my gosh, it's so and so and so, and I dare not ever meet them"?
Yes, I do have someone that, and I'm to this day I regret that I haven't met her, but I thought one day maybe I'll work with her. Helen Mirren.
Oh
Now
yeah.
the other person would have been Audrey Hepburn, and I never. I went to go see her in something in Chicago. She read from the Anne Frank Diary with the orchestra behind her, but I never got
Oh
to meet.
wow.
I would have loved to have met her, but yeah, Helen Mirren. Several times I've been in her vicinity and too afraid to speak to her. And once was at Penny Marshall's part. She had a party, and I could see Helen from up. I was up above something. I could see her down below, but it was at a big mansion that we were all. It was a party, a birthday party, and she went into some other room, and then I couldn't find her. But I have been standing actually right next to her and just said hi, and that was it because I was so. I've been a fan of her since I was like 17, 18 years old. I've known who she is. So one day I will have a conversation with her, but you're always afraid that, and I've heard nothing but lovely things about her, but you just want to have a good experience. So I'm just like, hi. She said hi to me. So I was like, but I've heard my friends, people who have spoken to her said she's lovely and she's really great. And that party would have been a perfect opportunity, but I think I was just too nervous. So
It happens.
yeah.
I've done it. I've been there and done it. All right. So then one of the last things I want to do, our second game is called the top 5. I'm asking you a random question. Now this one's always different, but I'd love to hear your opinion. Your top 5, no particular order, favorite baseball players.
Oh, wow. Okay, my top 5. All right, Mickey Stanley.
Okay.
He was my. Can they be from any era?
Yes, in any era.
Okay, yeah, I would say Mickey Stanley, Jackie Robinson. who else did I like? I like Roberto Clemente. I'm going to say Al Kaline.
Tiger great.
Yep. And who's the fifth? Gosh, who would be my fifth? Oh, Maybelle Blair, my buddy who's 90, who's a baseball player, and Pepper Pear Davis. Those two, if I could add one more in there. Those two
Absolutely.
ladies as well.
Who's winning the World Series this year?
I don't know. Who do you think is going to win it? Who do you think is our team? Who's?
I mean, the Dodgers seem to load up their lineup.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
to beat the Dodgers this year. But you know what?
That was a weird year too. That was a very weird year also.
A healthy Mike Trout and a healthy Shohei Ohtani together. That's going to be a tough Angels team to beat, but they got to both stay healthy. But the Rays, they're always in it for whatever reason now. So
that's true. And that was so fun, that event with the Rays, because Mickey Lolich was there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they had like a whole bunch. They had allowed the ball players. Did you go to that event? But you knew
I did
of it.
not go to that event, no. But the Rays are my home team. I go to a lot of games during the
Rays. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So that was lovely to meet all the people there and go to that event. So yeah, we like the Rays because whenever we've had an experience with any teams, we just kind of love at them because we are very close to the Cubs.
Right.
Those guys were our guys because they trained us and stuff. So yeah,
that's fantastic. Well, Patti, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Do you have any last words for folks who may be watching at home?
Just support what your girls playing sports, whatever it is that they choose to do. Fathers and mothers, just really support them, and because it's not just about baseball, but it's about the team playing and being part of a team, and whether they're acting as an ensemble or just learning that team leadership and stuff. So just support them and let them be kids. That would be my last thing to say. But thank you. This has been such a pleasure, and I'll see you next year.
Absolutely. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and most importantly, tell your friends. And we'll see you next week. Raise up.